what's up? So, just playing through some chord shapes there for fun. And yeah, man, still loving doing these videos, trying to knock out some stuff here. I got some fun suggestions in the comments section, a couple of ideas and questions that I wanted to hit. Real quick for fun, little extra tip here. I was playing through some C chord shapes there in the beginning that I really like to use. I used to not like to play in C, and I would get all frustrated with the chord shapes and didn't know how to play them. And then I started realizing, man, I don't really have to play every single note. So what I was doing there, and what you might like doing, is I'll just play. Now I'm playing with my fingers right there, which I do a lot. I've noticed on these videos, I'm playing with my fingers a lot, and that's not always what I do. I tuck the pick here, and I'll play with my fingers, and then I'll slide it up to play. So I guess I do both, and we can talk about that later, but that's a good trick to kind of develop. If you got extra time on your hands, maybe you're watching TV or just got a guitar in your hands, just practice tucking that. Because I used to like stick it somewhere, and then I had to like figure out how to, and no one wants to see a pick in someone's mouth in a live setting, so I try not to do that. But real quick, while we're talking about these shapes, you can just let a few things hang out through the chords. So like maybe I'll just change one note. Like for example, when I went from C, I didn't even play the full C. It's just the A string, G string, and C. Similar to the last video, someone laughed and said, well, if it's good enough for Eric Johnson, then that's the way to do it. Which I was talking about the E chord in the last video. And, I think that really is a good tip. You can use it in this chord too. So I'm just not playing the third. So I'm playing 1, 5, 1. Those are not fret numbers, those are the relative numbers in the scale. And when I switch to F, I could just play. So all I did was move. Now that might take a second to get used to, wrapping your thumb around. But it's a nice trick. Or you could do, and then up to G. Or on that one I went. So I'm just playing 3 strings. And then back to C. And even when I went to the A minor in the little progression, I was just kind of making up something. But, you could just play, either or. It's a version of that. It's got the G ring in there. So I think maybe it makes it an A7 or something, A minor 7 or something. But you could get some cool patterns. And if you've got a chord, is that rain coming down? If you got some, I heard some noise, maybe my air conditioner. If you got some ringing notes, it can make it sound cool. So like the whole progression could be A minor, or and then for the if you wanted to do the E on top of the C, so that'd be like a C over E chord. One option is to play the open, or it's this chord. It sounds nice a lot of times going up into the 4 chord. So like, or you could play. So that 3, I don't normally play the 3 like that because it sounds a little muddy live. So a lot of times what I would play is, so I would do. So that's just, it's just C over E to F, but I'm playing. And I'm only playing those 3 strings. So like if you had the progression that was like C over E to F, A minor to G, you could go. And you're just staying all in this one little spot. You don't have to do all this, You know, you don't have to move so much. Anyway, just a little tutorial on some C shapes there in the beginning. The questions I got. These are great. Daniel Smith, thanks for the questions and comments, guys. I'm really it's been great to be able to communicate. When we're touring, I'm always thinking, man, you know, we might be in a big room full of people at a worship night, and I'm thinking, man, I would love to connect with some guitar players out there, but I don't ever know how to reach out to them. All right, so he says, Daniel Smith says, enjoyed the video as always, man. Thank you. If you run out of topics to cover, I'd love to see how you combine lead and rhythm parts together. I sometimes struggle in bigger parts of songs where a lead guitar and also rhythm would be helpful, but I have to decide on one. Also, Nick Hansen wrote the same thing. He said, show the tellies some love. Did it. I've got a couple more tellies laying around here. Maybe we'll do some more telly videos. Thank you, though. I love tellies, Nick. How do you keep the song building with dynamics when you're the only guitar player? What is your approach mentally? I struggle with deciding when to keep a line going versus when to give big chords. And I think, you know, gosh, that's a tricky question. I feel like my entire life is living in that little space where I'm like, okay, do I play the lead line? Do I play the rhythm part? Okay, so thinking about how to answer this. The best thing that I know to say is that it's tailor-made for each song. It's kind of a trial and error thing. And when we're in rehearsals with the band, or maybe we're working up a new song, I'll even ask, you know, the band guys, or I'll ask Chris, you know, hey, do you think that bridge feels big enough? And a lot of times they'll be like, man, it feels like you should bail on the guitar line and play like a big... So I'll ask the band guys and be like, hey, you know, does that sound big enough? Do you wish it had like more power, or should I stick with like a high like lead line thing? And so some of it is just making sure, if I'm up here playing, you know, the whole song, like, you know, that might get old. Your ear might be too much, and at some point, like, man, what I want to hear now is just... It might be that at some point you just want to hear big chords and not all the high stuff. And then at some point, the low stuff might start to sound a little muddy, and you need to poke out, you know? So if it's like a featured keys line or synth moment, I might be down here just like... You know, that's a little kind of a dirty tone here, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it might be just like... And then if it's like, oh, now it's time for guitars to be featured, I might go... I'm just making something up. But like, you know, it might be that you're up there. Okay, so the example of Angel Armies comes to mind here. Yeah, so you've got, you know, there's this main lead guitar line that I play. And, you know, that has to be in there. It's up here. I'm playing just these, like, you know, in that region. And so that's kind of the main hook. And then when I get to the first chorus, I've got to play big chords. Well, I can't play the hook the right way without the capo. And so when the first chorus comes, I can't take the capo off and play chords down here and then throw it back on for the next hook part. And then, so I've got to figure out a way to play all this in the key of G. So when those first chorus chords come, I just play in the key of G. So I'm playing. So that's what I'm playing. And then when the hook comes around, I'm already right here. And so when the hook comes, I'm thinking, as a lead guitar player, I don't need a big chord there. I need the part. So I switch to the part. So what I'm doing is I'm playing kind of rhythm parts and lead parts, and really it's not there is no kind of blanket statement for how to approach that. It's kind of tailor-made for each song. So that's kind of the answer I'm giving, is it's really about how the song feels. And so I ask my bandmates, I ask Chris, I'll just be like, hey, what does this bridge feel like it needs chords or a lead line, or does that feel empty, or do you wish it had big chord? So we talk about this stuff, and I trust their opinion. It's good to listen to your bandmates and your bosses or employers or the worship leader you play with or band director. Like, hey, does that feel like it's not big enough? And sometimes that means bailing on the guitar part you really want to play and playing chords, and you just have to know what's right for the song. That's, I really rely on those voices, kind of around me, those people to tell me what's best. And so I do that, and then I also will kind of go back and forth. Like if you're playing a long song and you're down here the whole time, if you're playing a lot of low end information, it might get a little muddy, or it might just kind of wear on your ears. So you want to then hop up and play like a high part. And so the quick answer is that I do both. I go back and forth. Like one chorus, I might be like, playing up here, and then the next time the chorus, like maybe it's a back-to-back chorus, instead of just staying here, I might hop up here. And that kind of helps me, you add in a little bit of delay. That helps the part feel bigger. Sometimes I'll stomp two boxes on at the same time. So like right now I've got a boost, RC booster, and the King of Tone. That was just the King of Tone. But if I add the booster, it might make it a little richer, a little more saturated, add in some delay. And, that might help me sound bigger. I'm constantly playing around with it. Like, how can I make this part soar? How can I, sometimes it's an octave line. So instead of just playing like, I might double that by playing the octave. Right? And I actually use that at the end of that Angel Army song. I play this little guitar part that has this kind of soaring line on it. And, I might just go. So you can hear it's got both the low note and the high note. It helps thicken it up a little bit with like some delay, stomping on. Maybe it's adding a boost on top of an overdrive. Anything to just kind of make it lift, But like I said, it's the trick, and that's why I play the capo a lot. The trick, because for years and years of touring, I was the only guitar player. I didn't have a second guy, which we sometimes our buddy Jack Parker will hop in and play guitar with us, and sometimes it's just me. So I'm constantly kind of playing with this idea of how do I make this sound as big as I can, and play the parts and the melodies. So for me, the capo really helps me in that way, to get some big chords that still kind of, like sometimes you want the lead guitar to kind of live in this space and rhythm guitar to live down here. So it's like, okay, how do I live here and here at the same time? So the way I do that is I kind of combine some of those low notes with some of the high. So, and that kind of helps me fill up some sound by getting a couple of these thicker notes in there, as well as some high melodic kind of movement on top. And I hope that kind of makes sense. I might just go back and forth. It's one chorus I'm playing this, one chorus I'm up on the bridge or up high. Maybe we go to the bridge and I'm on like a soaring lead line, and then when we come back down to the chorus, if we get to a build section, I might dry everything up, no verb, no delay, and then I'm more like, I'm building, and then when it hits, I'm boosting. So I guess some of it is about your boosts and your gain stages, and making sure that you're able to kind of work those dynamics in the song. Leave your space. You might want to leave yourself a little bit of room. Make sure the verse is not like the loudest thing you can play. That way, when you get to the chorus, it can go up a little. It's just kind of trial and error on that stuff. And maybe I should do a couple more videos on this topic because it's so important. Because every time we record, there's so many parts. You know, it's like there's a guitar part that's playing with the keyboards playing, and then there's a guitar part that's just playing low end information, and then there's a guitar part that's doing big chords, and there's a it's like sometimes there's like a lot of guitars, and I'm like I don't know what to play, and so yeah, man, I hope that helps. It's really just a trial and error thing. I want to keep talking about some of this stuff, and let me know in the comments if I explain that, if it could be helpful to go further into detail about, maybe that's, finding the right thing. But I think it's about finding your chord shapes that work, that feel big, but also allow you to play a little bit of melody, and that's kind of really what it comes down to for me. That and constantly shaping your tone. I'm constantly throughout the night EQing with my feet. Like I'll use my foot to like roll in a little more top end on one pedal, or dump some low end with the RC booster. I might drop some bass to get it to poke out, or stacking pedals is really good for that stuff. So hey, so thanks for watching. Hopefully that helps, and we'll see you soon. Keep hitting me up with those comments and questions. It's really helpful, and hopefully I can get this some of these questions answered for you guys. It's really fun for me, especially during this season when we're all home. It's really helping me I'm enjoying the creative outlet, looking for stuff to help teach and to help share with you guys, and hopefully it's helpful. Yeah, so we'll see you soon.